morning and welcome to this week's Coffee and a Chat. Today I want to talk about affordable electric vehicles and vehicles that are going to come to the marketplace over the next 12 to 24 months that could make a difference and could actually entice people away from their ICE cars into electric vehicles. So grab yourself a coffee, make yourself comfortable, and let's have a chat about affordable electric vehicles of the future. I've chosen three vehicles that I want to talk to you about today that I think are really going to change things over the next couple of years. Vehicles that I think are going to entice people away from their ICE cars into electric. But before we talk about that, let's talk about affordability, because of course being affordable, that means something different to everybody. To me, an affordable car was when I bought my Mazda 10 years ago. Hardly had any miles on it. It was a top of the range and I think I paid £6,500 for it. Here I am 10 years later and it's still going strong. That's an affordable vehicle to me. I once bought a Renault Twingo, absolute load of old tosh. It cost me £6,000 because they were trying to get rid of them. It was an affordable vehicle at the time, but maybe with hindsight, it wasn't the best money I ever spent. So to me, affordable generally, I'm talking about the second-hand market. But of course, in order to get affordable vehicles into the second-hand market, we need a good volume of vehicles selling brand new. Now, whether that is you or I buying them brand new or somebody else, we need that customer base in order to push sales, in order to bring prices down. And that's where we're having the problem at the moment, because of course, actually there's a fair few electric vehicles on the market now. And there's all sorts of different price ranges and budgets to suit. But because there's not enough being produced, because there's more demand than there is supply, the prices are staying really strong. And we're seeing what used to be very affordable things like the Leaf and the Zoe, actually their prices are going up again. So what we need is something to change that. We need something to shake the market up in order to bring those prices down, to bring those real affordable vehicles to all of us. And I think the three vehicles I've chosen to look at today are probably going to be the types of vehicles that will do that, because they're from three of the biggest brands. Now, I am really talking about here in the UK. I know it's different everywhere, but because I'm here in the UK, because I understand these brands and how they sell here, that is why I've chosen these three vehicles. So if you're elsewhere, I'm sure there's things like in America, Chevrolet, they're really, really popular, but not so much here. We barely see them, and certainly we barely see any electric vehicles here from them. So bear with me with this. This is a bit UK centric. And of course, comes with a caveat that maybe they're not affordable to all of us, because I'm going to be talking about their prices brand new. And you'll see, actually, compared to their ICE equivalents, they are more expensive. There's no doubt about it. But bear with me and we'll talk about it at the end, how that hopefully is going to drive the market going forward and bring prices down. So let's start with car number one. Now, the first car I want to look at is the Peugeot E208. It's a cracking little car, big enough for a small family and very economical. They've been about for a while. People know them inside out. Well, they're going to do this electric version. It's going to come with a 50 kilowatt hour battery, a 100 kilowatt motor, and produce about 134 brake horsepower. So it's no slouch. WLTP figures, you're looking at a range of around about 211 miles. And of course, for a car that size, you're expecting those sort of figures. And I spoke about battery sizes some time ago, and for me that sweet spot is 50 kilowatt hours, because it gives you enough range to cover pretty much all of your journeys, unless you're somebody who travels a great distance, certainly here in the UK. But it also gives you enough extra to get to those further away places that you might do every so often. You might do one charger, you might be able to do that within that, but you're not paying for a great big 60 kilowatt hour battery, so it keeps the price down. Pair with that 100 kilowatt charging speeds, you're looking at 0 to 80% in about 30 minutes. So again, really, really quick charging with a really flexible battery. And of course, it's going to have all those extra driver aids that we've come to expect in EVs now, but do we necessarily want them? So lane assist, steering for you, keeping its distance. It's going to have Apple CarPlay, Android, all the other bits and pieces that we're seeing in all the electric vehicles at the moment. But would we rather have less of that and a lower cost, or are you happy with that? That's maybe a discussion for another day. But if we're talking about affordable vehicles, I think we need a few more options, because we seem to be seeing all of them with all these driver aids at the moment. So that's car number one. Car number two I wanted to talk about was the Vauxhall Corsa E. Now, a quick rundown on that. 50 kilowatt hour battery, 134 brake horsepower, WLT of 205 miles. It also has all the driver aids on it that you would expect, and a retail price is going to be around about £25,000. It's going to be available back end of this year into next year, the same as the Peugeot, and the same sort of money, probably high 20s by the time it arrives. So a very, very similar car. Similar ideas, similar things. We've got a bit of competition now between Peugeot and Vauxhall. And the final car of the three I want to talk about is the Citroen, the DS3 E-Tense. Again, let's have a quick look at it. 50 kilowatt hour battery, 100 kilowatt motor, 136 brake horsepower, 100 kilowatt charging, the same as the other two, WLTP, 200 miles. There's a surprise, much the same as the other two. Although this one looks like it's going to be a little bit more expensive. It's probably going to be low 30s by the time it arrives. So I would expect from that perhaps a slightly more luxurious car. I think you'll agree, looking at them, they all look like really nice small to mid-range cars. The sort of cars that you see everywhere, your Vauxhalls, your Citroens, your Peugeots, they are all over the place. In fact, you'll probably find are well within the top 10 selling list. I haven't looked, but I know for a fact that some of those are near the top. So really popular cars that have now been electrified. So you would think, or you would hope, that they would sell really well, and you would hope that the pricing would reflect that, because let's be honest, that's why they're so popular, these cars. They're cheap at the end of the day. They are affordable cars with their ICE equivalents. But of course, that's not the full story, is it? As we said at the start, there's three cars that to some will be affordable, but not to everybody. Brand new, that's still quite a lot of money. So why am I talking about them? Well, I'm talking about them because I think these three cars, and you can also bring in some of the others. So we've still got the Nissan Leaf, we've still got the Renault Zoe, we've still got the Kia Soul. The list goes on. There's all these cars still being made. But what we keep hearing and what we keep seeing is these cars aren't being produced in enough numbers to meet the demand that is out there. And as a result, as we said at the start, the prices are strong and are going up. So it's got to be welcome then that we've got three more brands coming onto the market to also produce more cars. But that brings us to the point of the reason that all these manufacturers tell us why they haven't got enough of these electric cars to sell, and that is battery production. Now, whether you believe quite what they're saying or not, it's one for you. On one hand, yeah, there aren't enough batteries, probably because there aren't enough places making them. So it probably is very difficult to get hold of them. But on the other hand, when these companies, when these manufacturers sell these vehicles as electric vehicles, of course, they know that what happens after they're sold, they're not going to make the money that they make from ICE vehicles. So from all your servicing and all your parts, all those times that you come back to the manufacturer, back to the franchise dealer with your car, that's going to get less and less and less because there's so much less to do on those electric vehicles. So they're going to lose money, and that is where they make their money, of course. So are they stifling the battery production? Are they just not putting any money into it because they're happy just to churn out a few electric vehicles, make it look as if they're doing the right thing, knowing that probably further down the line they will do them in vast quantities, but for the time being they're getting their tax credits if it's something that's relevant to where they are in the world, or they're just showing their customers, well, if you want it, we'll produce a few for you, we'll keep you happy, but actually we're not going to get fully behind it just yet. I'm unsure what it is at the moment, and it's probably a discussion that could go on and something maybe for another day that we could look at in a little bit more depth. But one way or the other, they are telling us that there aren't enough batteries to make these vehicles. So if we've got these three cars coming, then what we need is a big uptake in manufacturing. And in order to do that, we need to standardize some things. We need to make it easier to get these parts into these cars so that we're not pulling from all these different sources here, there, and everywhere. And the reason why I've chosen these three cars is because that's exactly what they're doing. These cars belong to the PSA group, and because they belong to the PSA group, they all sit on the same platform, and that is called the Compact Modular Platform. So they all sit on the same base and they all share a number of parts within, and you probably realised as I was reading through it, they've all got 50 kilowatt hour batteries, they're all around about the same brake horsepower, they've all got 100 kilowatt motors, WLTPs all roughly the same. The prices are all more or less the same. You're effectively getting three cars that are slightly different aesthetically, but actually they're the same car underneath. So As a result of that, of course, it's going to be much more cost effective to produce, which keeps the price down, which is great. And hopefully, because they're going to be single manufacturing, they're going to be getting the parts from the same places. There's 3 manufacturers effectively under the one umbrella, all investing in the same place, which hopefully will then increase production of things like batteries, which will ensure that there's more of these vehicles going onto the roads. And just by the very nature of there being 3 new vehicles coming onto the roads over the next 12 to 18 months, plus everything else that's coming, there's just going to be more electric vehicles out there. There's going to be more to buy. There's going to be more choice. Therefore, that demand for them is going to decrease because people are going to start to be able to choose the vehicles they want rather than be stuck with whatever they can get. So as a result, prices will start to come down. As a result, not straight away, but when these vehicles become second-hand vehicles, hopefully then we'll start to see affordable electric vehicles. Hopefully we'll start to see these slot in with the likes of the Zoe and the Leaf and really bring the prices down. And before we know it, that 6.5 grand low mileage, high spec vehicle will be affordable as an electric vehicle and will really start to save us money. So there you go. That's our whistle stop guide to these 3 new cars that I think are going to be really important over the next 18 months. And I'm hoping will change the marketplace as far as these affordable cars go. But what do you think? Are these the sort of vehicles that you would buy? Are these the sort of cars that you're looking forward to seeing? Do you, maybe they're not the sort of cars that you're looking forward to seeing, but you're pleased that they're coming because they're going to hopefully flood the marketplace and as a result, bring prices down on everything else. Let me know. Let's have a chat about it in the comments because I find it really interesting how the market is starting to grow now and how other manufacturers, especially these big ones, are really coming into the forefront now. And we're also starting to hear murmurs from the likes of Ford and some of the other really big manufacturers that we've been disappointed about up till now, that they haven't actually dipped their toe in the water properly. So let me know what you think. Let's have a chat about it. Let's talk about how we're going to make things more affordable in the future and how you think these manufacturers are going to play their part. And do you think they really want to play their part? Or do you think actually this is just a way of appeasing people that have got a bit of an interest in electric vehicles, keeping the governments happy because they're telling them they've got to be greener, whether it's through tax credits or whatever else it is? Are they just doing their bit and actually they're just going to put all their weight behind their ICE vehicles until such time as they have to make more electric vehicles? What do you reckon? Let me know. Hopefully you've enjoyed it today. If you have, remember to like and share. If you're not doing so already, subscribe to the channel. Till next time, you take care and I'll see you soon. All the best.